Hello everyone, and welcome to weeks what will be 11 and 12 for our class. In this presentation, I am going to go over your actual presentations for the course. Now, your presentations will follow the format that your actual final papers will be following as well, going off of Cicero's 5 canons of persuasion. So first of all, when we talk about presentations, what we're talking about is making a visual argument, a visual persuasive argument, much like how I have presented your lectures to you each week. Now, as you recall from the final chapter in Heinrichs, in ancient times, every rhetoric student had to construct what was called an imaginary house or scene in his head with empty spaces to fill the ideas. These mental images filled each space, and they stood in for a concept, ideal, or commonplace. Now, Heinrichs also mentions that our PowerPoint presentations are a more modern version of these initial memory houses from ancient Greece. So what you will be doing is you will be creating your own presentation based on your initial research for your paper. This presentation can take the form of a PowerPoint presentation wherein phrases and graphics stand in for your ideas, or it could take another form of your choosing, such as Prezi, or even I use Cam Studio, which you can download a free trial copy of. So you might want to play around with different captivating software for your presentations. Now, again, the key to this assignment, you'll be using it to build off and create your final paper, much like the annotated bibliography got you initially started on your research and thinking about your topic. You'll be creating a workable outline from which you will create your presentation and ultimately, as I mentioned, your final paper. Be mindful of the rhetorical tools that we have discussed throughout the semester and, of course, how you wish to employ them in making your argument. You may want to consult your previous writing prompts and, of course, the glossary at the back of our text, which will remind you of some of the key rhetorical tools. Your presentation should follow the form of oration, which is listed below. Again, this should look familiar to you because they are, after all, Cicero's canons. Invention. This is where you dig up the materials for your speech. Ask yourself, what do you want? Do you want to change your audience's mood, mind, or willingness to act? And of course, you want to think about what kind of rhetoric you need to achieve your goals. You want to, again, avoid blame or values-laden language, because ultimately you will be creating a deliberative argument, which, of course, as we know, rests on choice. You can bring in values, but you want to make sure that they are ones that the audience shares. So you want to be careful, again, not to blame any particular group or individual, because it tends to put people on the defensive and thus makes them not persuadable. After you decide what you want from your audience, you need to nail down the issue itself. Is it simple or complex? If it is complex, which most of your issues are, you need to break it down into digestible parts. You need to also consider what a potential opponent might say about your issue and spend time framing your argument in response to this. Again, you want to appear as reasonable as possible. Because this research project requires you to use scholarly sources, you'll want to, again, sit with those scholarly sources. Obviously, professional peers have reviewed the materials, so even if you disagree with what someone has to say, they're not wholly out of line. They have some professional relevance. Therefore, I don't want to see language such as right and wrong, either or black and white. Again, you want to use the concession to say, X has a good point here. However, he or she is not taking X, Y, or Z into account. Again, you want to appear reasonable and not say, oh, well, they're just stupid or ridiculous. Again, you want to mirror commonplaces that we've shared as a class throughout the semester, and this will allow you to use code words or tribal talk to effectively persuade your audience. Is the central issue about values or rights or something else? Next, you'll want to follow arrangement. Once you've constructed your basic argument, you will need to arrange it into a cohesive presentation. Now, this is where some of you missed the mark in your initial introductions for your bibliographies. Your presentation and ultimately your final paper should move from ethos, which is establishing your character or credibility, to logos, which is where your facts come in, your research, to pathos. Again, remember, ethos is reserved for the introduction. How can you get your audience to like you? Do you share their values? Do you exhibit good sense? Do you show disinterest? In short, make them identify with you. Many of you have personal experiences related to your topics. Use this to your advantage. Next, you want to move into logos, which is the meat of your argument. Do you have facts and figures to back up your claim? How can you use narration to tell a story with those facts and figures? Again, remember, statistics alone are wholly unpersuasive. People's eyes tend to gloss over a bunch of numbers. You have to tell us what they mean and why they're relevant. And then finally, you'll move into pathos, which asks you to consider, again, what your goal is and how do you want to rouse your audience's emotions. And of course, what emotions do you want to rouse in consideration of the goals you've set forth. Now, the meat and bones of your speech should follow the introduction, narration, division, proof, refutation, and conclusion. So you should have those components. Remember, of course, to use style, which has to do with proper language, clarity, vividness, decorum, and ornament. And of course, that all has to do with getting the audience on your side and making sure that your language is appropriate for your audience and your topic. And next, you'll want to consider what mental images you associate with your particular concepts, ideals, commonplaces, and/or figures of speech. You'll want to refer to them in your presentation. And of course, make sure that you present yourself and your materials in a confident manner to the class. Remember, you are the expert and you want to persuade the class to adopt your reasoning and take action. Now here are the meat and bones of the presentations. They should be 7 to 10 minutes long, but must not exceed 10 minutes, so make sure that you practice before you post your final presentation. Your presentations obviously should also include images, which will require you to have your final slide be a bibliography. Many images are owned by other individuals on the World Wide Web, so you must cite not only the sources that you use, but also the images. And of course, at the OWL at Purdue, there is a proper way to format for citing images that you find. Your presentation should also have minimal text. I do not want to see slides with paragraphs and paragraphs of texts. You must use a webcam to record yourself giving the presentation, as I am demonstrating here. As you will remember from the beginning of the course, it was part of a requirement. And thus, if you do not use a webcam to record yourself, and this is, again, essential to exhibiting good decorum, you will be docked 10 points. No excuses, no exceptions. All presentations will be due on December 2nd through your designated group's form on Blackboard. So that's the first 25 points of your presentation. The other 25 points come from your peer critique of presentations. Paying close attention to each presentation, you'll write down one thing about the presentation that you like and one thing that you think needs more clarification. This will help each of you in constructing your final papers. You must comment on all of the presentations in your group to receive the full 25 points for this peer critique. Now, again, if you go to this week's content, weeks 11 and 12, you will see here that I have a link for your presentation groups, and you will identify which group you are in. So here you'll see we have 8 groups, and there are 4 to 5 students per group. So you don't have to comment on everybody in the class's presentation, just the people in your group. And all you have to do, so here's example, you'll see here's Group 1, Keisha, Eric, Jennifer, Amanda, and Shelby. So just click reply and attach your presentation as you would to any kind of attachment to an email. Now again, some of your files may be too big to just attach the file alone. You may have to download a zip program which will condense your file. So make sure that you plan ahead and practice that to make sure that your presentations get up on time. So that is, those are the directions for the presentations. As always, please feel free to email me if you have any questions. Also, if you, that reminds me, if you have any general questions regarding our presentations or final papers, I have created under discussion board 2 forums specifically 4 questions regarding the final papers and the presentations. So if you just have general questions, you can post those there in that forum. All right, have a good week, and I look forward to seeing your presentations. Again, as another reminder, you'll see on our syllabus, we will not have course materials for next week as it is Thanksgiving. So you have a full 2 weeks to work on these presentations. Make sure that you incorporate my feedback from the annotated bibliographies, and that, of course, you practice to make sure that you are putting out the best effort possible. I will see you in a couple of weeks.